Hello, everybody. God bless you. It's a new year, and I got another idea. This is very important. It's a lesson I taught in many different places. I taught it when I was volunteering for the youth. I teach it in the street a lot. I share this with a lot of people who don't understand the Hebrew language. But to choose a title for this one, I would pick Man in the Middle. That is a very complex topic, complex idea. I could probably do 10 lessons on it and never cover the whole thing. But Aleph is the first Hebrew letter. The way Aleph is designed is God's hand in heaven, God's hand on earth, and man leaning in the middle. I will show a picture of it. But the letter Aleph is the first Hebrew letter. It's also a silent word in the language. But when you read it, you know what it means. But it's silent when you speak it, which is another example of what God does. He's everywhere, he's in everything, he controls everything, but he's also silent to those who choose to ignore. We can see evidence of God. We know God is real. We know he controls the sun, the moon, and the stars. We know the animals don't worry. Why do we worry? But in the language, it's silent, but it means everything. Because without Aleph, there is nothing else. Man in the middle, what does that mean? When you think of what our life consists of, what do our bodies consist of? Dust, blood, and soul. The soul comes from God. The rest of us is just blood and dirt. So the fact that we're not flying around and the fact that we're not beneath the earth, we're suspended on the planet, walking around living, is man in the middle. The fact that God's hand is in heaven and God's hand is on earth and we're in the middle means we really have nothing to worry about and we really don't control anything. So what's the problem? The problem is when we want to become God. The problem is when we disobey God. So whatever our problems are within ourselves and with other people, somebody's disobeying God. If there wasn't, everything would be perfect. And now I don't see animals argue that much. I don't see water argue. I don't see the birds arguing. So why do men argue? Every now and then we want to become God. Once we understand the concept of heaven, which is being with God in perfect communion, everything will be all right. So I just urge all of us to remember where you are. What is your relationship to God? Are you in communion with God? Are you obeying God? Are you disobeying God? What are you doing? How often do you pray? How often do you study his word? If Jesus is God, what are you really worried about? We're the man in the middle. God's doing everything else, so let him do it. How do we do that? It's easier said than done, I know. But that just comes from knowledge and practice. And who do you surround yourself with and why? When you wake up in the morning, what are you doing? When you go to bed at night, what are you doing? If you can't sleep, why? Why do you go to work every day? Is it for the money or do you enjoy what you're doing? Are you helping people? Are you helping yourself? What are you doing? We're the men in the middle, resting between God's two hands. That is a perfect place to be. Just remember that. Maybe you're outside of his hands. Maybe that's why there's so much misfortune. What are you really doing and why are you doing it? Just ask yourself that question.